Okay, strap in. This is a conversation that I think has been a long time coming. It's definitely been a long time coming from it brewing inside of me and wanting to speak this out into the world. And so today is the day where I am ripping off that whole concept of what it means to see someone like me, a psychic, in terms of it being something that is mystical and future focused, and actually put the power back in your hands if this is something that you choose to do. So let's take all the mystic out of it and to bring back the truth of what it really means to sit with someone who is ready to and able to hold your space and guide you. So I think there are many reasons why I haven't had this conversation so openly and so publicly in the past. And it's not just one thing, it's multi-layered. One is that personally, I feel really uncomfortable with the term psychic medium and even calling myself that. But really, we have to anchor the work that I do somehow. And it is a term that people have heard of or know or have an association with. And so I use that. Technically, am I that? I would prefer not to use anything, but I know I have to use something. And it's because I don't like the connotations that it brings up, that it's some kind of magical power or woo-woo thing when it's absolutely not at all. It's a very ancient practice, which I'll get into in this episode, because the sphere I have of reframing it is I think that people are attracted to the work that I do and people like me do, like tarot readers or clairvoyants or whatever it is, that people are really attracted to this type of work because they feel it's not something that they can access themselves, or they feel like someone like me holds all the answers. And if they just know what the future looks like, then they will feel more satiated, more satisfied, and more directed. And I would agree with all of that. And to be honest, that is why I saw someone like me the very first time I chose to see someone like me. And so the intention or the feeling or the motivation isn't surprising to me. But now that I do this work, and I have been doing this work for 16 years, the focus I really want to put on it is how empowering it is to choose to sit in that seat across from someone like me, rather than giving me all the power. Because seeing a psychic isn't about finding out your future. It's actually about meeting yourself more deeply in the now. So in this episode, I really want to embark on the task of reframing the psychic experience, not as pop culture curiosity or something that you do for fun, but as a powerful ancient practice of self-reflection and realignment. And to honor the role of the psychic as an oracle, a mirror, a guide, not as an entertainer or a fortune teller. And to invite you to see psychic work as a tool of self-devotion and personal evolution, because that is exactly what it is. And part of the reason why I haven't really talked about it so publicly before is because I know that this conversation may trigger a lot of people. So I want to start out by saying this isn't a blame name kind of situation. This is we have been fed such lies about psychics or oracles, and it's time we stop and dispelled those myths. And I am going to put the blame squarely on the patriarchy. The women of society have always been the wise ones. And so what happened when science rose and they shut women out from scientific investigation and knowledge is that they had to maintain some type of speciality to that. And so one of the first things they did was disbar and dysregulate and disown that knowledge from women who had held it for centuries. I'm talking about ancient times in terms of witches. They had to make being a witch, someone that actually foraged for the right herbs to cure ailments, someone that was able to see someone for the truth of who they are because they were extremely emotionally intelligent, someone that was so robust in themselves that they could hold space for others, not because they were more special than anybody else, but that's just because that was their natural gift. The healers, the holders of wisdom, the nurturers, the healers of like energy, that they could transfer energy and use it to help others. So all this work is so ancient, but it's been completely misconstrued in pop culture, I believe, because of the patriarchal influences. So let's demonize what women have always done and always have known, and even the men that choose to do this work and do it brilliantly. And let's demonize that and have science triumph, which is only, remember, science was only available to men for centuries. Women weren't able to study it. Women weren't allowed in the rooms where this knowledge was passed over, let alone use that knowledge in a way that they were qualified to help others. And so a lot of the idea around, or the pop culture perception around, somebody that does healing or psychic or energetic work has been woo-woo, and I'm so sick of it. Maybe my month of June devotion to me has really allowed me to shed the shackles of like, I actually don't care if you find this triggering. I don't care if this upsets you. I don't care if it makes you feel bad. That is on you. But what I will say is that it is not my intention. It is not my intention to share what I'm going to share with you to in any way make you feel bad for seeking the help of or the guidance of someone like me, because I was and I am you. In my moments of on my knees in desperation and I just want to know what's going to happen because I'm a fragile human being just like you, I do turn, or I have in the past definitely turned to someone like me or a resource like me in order for answers. It is human nature. We get that. But I obviously have cultivated the understanding of this work over a very long period of time. And so when I say to you all the things that it isn't, if you have pursued it that way, that is not bad on you. You are just a product of your environment, like I was, because we were told that this is woo-woo, this is crazy, this is all the things to demonize it and to devalue it. That's the word I was looking for, to devalue it. Rather, like, look at the science, look at the things that the men only held on to as wisdom to kind of trump this. Obviously, that's a very simplified version, but it's really important to give you some type of context, because my intention here is to actually give you this information, give you my thoughts on this topic as someone who uses this modality, as someone who works with this modality, in order to empower you with this modality. So when you choose to use it, you choose it from such a place of empowerment that seeing someone like me, taking a seat in someone who dedicates their life to holding, helping, and guiding others is an extremely empowered decision. And it's a decision that you make to actually expand into yourself, not just to be reassured that everything is going to be okay, and not just to outsource your decision making to somebody else, but rather to allow you to be truly seen and be reflected back to see yourself. So when you do make decisions for your life, you make them from a place of deep self-awareness, knowledge, and power. Because a psychic reading is truly a moment of sacred reflection. A psychic is not here to tell you your future. We're actually here holding your space, reflecting back your current frequency and your potential, which more often than not does not line up. In me too, like I have my human doubts and fears as well. And so my frequency may be actually penetrating through my life experience in a way that I don't want it to, because I'm scared of the potential. I've forgotten the potential. I've lost faith in my potential. And a psychic reading is a co-creative space. It's not passive. It's a co-creation between you and the person with the information. There's nothing I hate more than someone that sits down and wants to test me. As soon as I get that energy, as soon as I get that agenda from their energy, I shut down, because that's not what this is about. It's a co-creative space where we're talking through the energetics at play in order to help you move forward in the most empowered way possible. For example, I've got my oracle cards here, a tool to get insights and answers, and by shuffling them and pulling them, as I do usually at the start of an episode. So I've got the card Serenity. I'm hoping I'm feeling serene at the end of this once I've got it all off my chest. But that's what we're like. Deep peace is deep self-awareness. And I'm co-creating that meaning through the cards, through my intuition, through reading the energy of what it is that I want to say, through being divinely guided, knowing that I don't have all the answers, and sometimes being a channel for that wisdom and using tools to do so is a thing that's going to give us clarity to help make us decisions more effective as we move forward. Because when you sit in a psychic reading, you're not receiving answers, you're receiving alignment cues. Let me say that again. In a psychic reading, you are not receiving mere answers, you are receiving alignment cues. The points at which you can use to make effective decisions for yourself, more aligned decisions for yourself, more accountable decisions for yourself, because readings are not meant to solve your life. That is not their intention. Rather, they're beautiful exchanges where you are shown where you are blocked, where you're shown the potential for expansion and the available transformation on offer for you if you were to take that up. So when approached with reverence, a psychic session becomes a moment of spiritual calibration. So a good psychic won't necessarily tell you what to do. They help you remember who you are. So let's look at the ancient role of oracles and mystic. I wish I could just call myself a mystic or an oracle, but I don't think the world's quite there yet with that terminology. But really that's how I prefer to coin myself, because it isn't really me. It's just a natural talent that I then work really hard on cultivating the awareness and reading the energy and having it flow through me so I can tell you. In ancient times, people like this were revered in society because of how empowering this experience can be. To see someone like that, you would travel for days. You would probably walk across rubble on your hands and knees in order to take that seat so that you could receive that insight and guidance that then you could use potentially for your own transformation. These people were revered for a reason, because it takes a lot to hold another person. Much of my life is dedicated to doing the work that I do, not in the moment that I'm sitting in front of someone, but all the preparation that it takes to be that clear channel energetically and spiritually for someone. You know, in a really concise historical overview, let me give you some insight. So in ancient Greece, for example, people used to travel for days to see the oracle Delphini. And when you would enter, you would enter in this trance state and you would see someone there channeling these divine insights. And it was really beautifully given in a temple that was built because of this oracle was so revered. And it wasn't about yes and no answers. It was about decoding the path of your life soul. In ancient Egypt, priests and priestesses received divine insight through dreams and rituals in temples that were dedicated to healing and spiritual connection. People used to create physical spaces just for this work. In indigenous cultures, seers, shamans, and mystics are held in high esteem in roles in tribal life. Their visions are informed decisions that the tribe would make. It would be about healing and also spiritual alignment. In India, receiving sacred knowledge through meditation and devotion. The Vedas were heard, they were not written. They were channeled through spiritual receivers. In medieval Europe, let's bring it over to Europe, mystics like Hildegard von Bingen received vivid visions that shaped spiritual doctrine. So this work is ancient, and across cultures and centuries, mystics were never dismissed as gimmicks or as forms of entertainment. They were revered as sacred bridges between the seen and the unseen. And remember, I do unfortunately blame a lot of this on the patriarchy that has been dismantled. And I think in modern day it continues to be so, because pop culture often distorts psychic work as like spooky or predictive or even trivial, and TV shows and memes and apps reduce this sacred work to almost like a party trick. And it robs the practice of its depth, and it robs the people of the healing that they could be receiving. Because true psychic work is not about prediction, it's about presence. It's not thrills, it's for truth. Because seeing a psychic isn't a magical experience, it's a meeting point between your soul and your human readiness. There is a major role you play in the seeker. It's the person that is coming to sit in front of someone doing this work. And how you show up to this meeting, this reading, this healing, whatever it is, really shapes what you are able to receive. You are not powerless in this co-creation. You are participating in a mirror moment with your spirit, and you're employing literally somebody, you're energy exchanging with somebody who is willing to give over themselves to that spirit, to be a channel for it, to be that mirror to you. Which is why people charge a lot to do what I do, because it takes a lot to do what I do. And so when you're energy exchanging for it, remember that you're actually paying someone to sit as that sacred mirror so you can see yourself more deeply. And somebody is devoting their energy and their time in order for you to be able to do that. Why? Because they deeply believe in people's potential. They deeply believe in you and your ability to expand and grow and enjoy this life that you're living. Bringing intention is so important. It is not entertainment. Bring curiosity, not desperation. I think the very first time I had a reading, I went in with desperation. I just wanted to know everything was going to be okay, which is why I understand the seat that you sit in when you do that. But luckily my soul knew better, and it pushed me to curiosity more than it did the desperation for knowing the outcome. And as a result, obviously my whole life changed, because psychic work is energetic work. It asks you, the seeker, to be open, to be grounded, and willing to see what may be uncomfortable or uninspiring or confronting. But you take that seat because your soul longs for you to see it in a way that is going to help you really expand in your life and take on your life in a higher form. It is confronting at times, and people don't like that, and I understand. The ego doesn't like that. I didn't like that. But at its root cause and intention, it's very powerful. So If you are looking to be somebody that is seeking that presence and to have their space held by a mystic, by an oracle, I invite you to reflect on these things before you do so. What did you perhaps bring to your last experience of this? Did you bring curiosity or expectation? And when you sat afterwards, what did that bring up for you? Because the reading, that exchange, that looking in the mirror is just the beginning. It's how you integrate what you heard and witness that is the work. So readings are used for a check-in point, spiritual hygiene, a tune-up, a realignment. Just like meditation, breath work, and journaling, this is a devotional tool. So before you turn up to your next moment where someone is there and ready to hold you, revisit these ideas so that you come ready and prepared. Because psychic guidance is not about what is going to happen. It's about what you are becoming and what's available to you when you meet yourself with truth. So I invite you to reflect on this next time you feel called to book in a session, to come with openness and curiosity and the deep reverence of meeting yourself through the vehicle of another. Because the most powerful readings don't necessarily give you clear-cut answers. They give you a moment of deep clarity where you truly see yourself, where you are truly heard, and where you can truly remember. So next time you are tempted to see this work as a gimmick or as woo-woo, remember that it is an ancient practice, and the only reason that perhaps we feel that way is because we were told it was that way. Rather than remembering that we are all so interconnected and we all have different roles to play in each other's evolution to help support and provocate each other. And so when someone sits in front of you and is willing to give over their energy for that, it is a sacred exchange and it is a sacred empowering moment for you to truly see yourself, to empower your next moves forward. I hope I've given you something to think about in this episode. The serenity, I guess, that card, that concept really comes from authenticity and knowing the truth of what you're doing. And maybe you'll feel more serene next time you are facing uncomfortable truths about yourself or your journey or your path or your choices in these sessions that you have with mystics like me. But know that it is a sacred experience, that it is a privilege to be able to access this work in whatever way that you do, whether it be a quick reading, whether it be healing, whether it be ongoing mentoring. It's all there to serve the greatest version of you, which is why we continue to do this work. So thank you so much for joining me on this episode of the Light Path podcast. And as always, I look forward to sitting in devotion to you whenever you feel the call and honoring that seat. And I hope this helps you honor yours in a completely new light.